Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll be unboxing and reviewing this month's Sketchbox, and as usual, the full description of each item and the retail cost will be listed in the description box below. Let's get started. Now, a very quick thing I want to share, if you press down the edges of a box, you should be able to lift the tape up and open a box easy. Very easy like that, so I don't ever use a knife now. The first thing I see in the box is the menu, the art, which actually took me a second to figure out, and then we have the Cretacolor watercolor graphite set, which retails for $14.95. I was a little disappointed to see this because it feels like we just got watercolor pencils, but it was really a couple months ago, so whatever. Inside they have a little quality check number, which I thought was cool, and a pamphlet with some tips and stuff from Cretacolor themselves, so I gotta take a look at that later. While swatching these, even though I was initially bummed out at the thought of having more watercolor pencils, I was actually quite satisfied with how the color appeared once it met the water. It was a nice surprise considering it does go on very dark, and they actually do blend out nice, and if you work it very well, then the pencil marks actually do kind of disappear. You can see a little bit, but not a lot. I also like the fact that they sent in HB and an 8B version to give a nice variety, but we'll talk more about that later. Next we have the Derwent Graphitint, I think it's called, pencil in ivy and chestnut, retailing for $2.99, along with a Spectrum Noir color tint pencil in cafe, retailing for $2. I thought the chestnut would be a little darker. It looks more on the orange side, and the cafe looks more on the yellow side. Neither of these really look brown, but I guess that they were nice colors overall. My favorite though has to be the ivy green for sure. I don't know why, but I've really been into like olive greens lately. Also, the white did absolutely nothing for me, but I'll touch back on that more later. Next is the Derwent Graphitint watercolor pan in dark indigo and juniper, retailing for $3.99 each. My juniper came a little damaged, but no big deal. It gives it character, kind of like a mustache kind of look. And the Princeton Heritage round brush number 6, retailing for $13.65. Sheesh, brushes can really get expensive, but let me tell you, it's a really nice brush. I definitely prefer these pans way more than the color pencils. I just, for whatever reason, can't seem to be able to get rid of the pencil streaks no matter how hard I try, no matter what watercolor pencil I use. So maybe I just need to get better at using them or try to learn more about using them. So if you have any tips, feel free to leave them down below. Now at this point, this palette, this color palette was looking really familiar. It was giving me the desaturated holiday 2020 color palette vibe. Now obviously this one's way more vibrant, but I feel like they would kind of work well together. Next is the Art Graphite Putty, retailing for $8.37, and a little ASMR here for you. I had no idea what I was going to do with this thing, so I looked it up and quickly found out that I should wear a glove while handling this because it can get really messy really quick, as you can see with my glove. I personally think this works better as a stress ball than an art tool in my personal art arsenal. It's not something that I would personally buy, but it is what it is. I just can't see how these materials would play nice together. I ended up storing it in a Ziploc bag because I don't know how long it could keep fresh for. And of course we have our Sketchbox sticker, which didn't record me putting it in the corner. How not satisfying. But here is all of the swatches of this month's box. And now we're going to move on to the sketch. I wasn't sure of what to do. All I knew is that I had to do something with still life because these colors just weren't saturated enough to do a nice vibrant illustration, in my opinion. I know it had to be something a little bit more delicate, so I went more on the floral side. So the way that I approached this drawing is I first started by using the HB to draw out my sketch. The reason why I used HB is because I knew once I introduced the water to it, it's such a light pigment that it wasn't going to interfere with the pigment of the other colors. So Once I got the sketch down, I went back in, and basically my method was to put the color pencils down on where I want the most pigment to be, and then I would later fade it out into like a lighter color once I introduced it to the water. So you'll see in some parts I partially color, in other parts I lay down the dark green first, and then I layer the light green right next to it. I add just a slight bit of blue on the sides of the vase. The blue really ended up getting away from me. I didn't expect it to be that bright or for it to spread that much, so the vases ended up being a lot more blue than I expected, but I actually did end up liking how the sketch turned out. But even though I ended up liking the way it came out, I can't lie, this box personally is not a box that I would purchase. This box was kind of a letdown for me. I was really hoping for something vibrant, something fun. I didn't expect the materials to be so desaturated in color, and I mean, even if they're gonna do that, I really wish that they would put something in there that would give it a nice pop. And I don't know, maybe I'm just not giving the watercolors a fair chance. I think that's what I'm gonna do next week. So every week what I plan on doing is kind of just showing a progress video on the items that we received for the month, and then at the end of the month I want to compare the pieces that I made in the beginning of the month to see if I've actually shown progress, and to give an update on whether or not I think that these materials are worth it, whether I ended up liking them more, whether I got used to them. I just want to give these things a fair shot and not only go on first impressions, because based on first impressions, I was very, very underwhelmed by this box. I mean, the graphite putty, I don't know. I can't picture myself making anything with it. I'm like stuck trying to, maybe like a black and gray image, but I'm really not a fan of this box. I'm so upset because this is the first box that I feel let down by Sketchbox, but we'll see. I mean, we'll find out at the end of the month if it's just me that sucks at using watercolor pencils, because the white, it did absolutely nothing for me. So I don't know if that I'm using the white watercolor pencils wrong, or maybe I need some more tips, because it never does anything for me. And I highly, highly doubt that all white watercolor pencils suck. I highly, highly doubt that. I think it's just a user error, but we'll see. I'm determined to give these things another fair shot. So wish me luck, and thank you so much for joining me and staying with me this far into the video. Come back next week and see if I learned anything new, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.